Hello, this is Organizational Behavior Learning Objective 13-2, Formal Power and Personal Power, and then also Learning Objective 14-3, Distributive and Integrative Bargaining, by me, Colton Meyer. So first, we have three different types of formal power: corrosive, reward, and legitimate. Corrosive power is dependent on fear. More specifically, the target's fear of negative outcomes or failing to comply with the demands. This generally means the threat of bodily distress, pain, restriction of movement, or withholding safety needs. Coming from the book, quote, A has corrosive power over B if A can dismiss, suspend, or demote B, assuming that B values his or her job. If A can assign B work activities that B finds unpleasant, or treats B in a manner that B finds embarrassing, A possesses corrosive power over B. Next is reward power, which is the exact opposite of the above. Rather than reaching an outcome based on threats, reward power gets people to comply through positive benefits. This can be, through pay raises, bonuses, promotions, recognition. And then lastly, there's legitimate power. This power comes from the position an individual has within the organization or any hierarchy. In this way, it is much more broad than corrosive or reward power. It relies on subordinates' acceptance of that individual's position. Other than formal power, there's personal power that is labeled expert and referent. Expert power is the influence someone has based on their own knowledge and or experience. A good example of this would be any long-time specialist like a doctor or an accountant. Then there is referent power. This type of power comes from something as simple as how well people like you, which can be due to anything from the resources you have or the personal traits that you have. For example, a lot of people like Steph Curry. He's endorsed by Under Armour, and people buy their shoes because of it. And recently, due to his referent power, he managed to help make available a pair of shoes to a little girl. Originally, the shoes were not made for girls, but with a little help from the referent power that he has, this was all capable. From both formal and personal power, the most effective tends to be personal. This is because both expert and referent power are positively related to employees' satisfaction with supervision, organizational commitment, and even performance. Formal powers, on the other hand, we're not quite as positive, and when it comes to corrosive power, it's just outright toxic in many situations. Negotiation is a process that occurs when two or more parties decide to allocate scarce resources or the exchange of goods and services with an attempt to agree on the exchange rate for them. There are two main bargaining strategies. The first is distributive bargaining. In this strategy, both parties seek to divide up a fixed amount. A good example of this would be, if you go to a local car dealership, you might think they're asking too much. They might be thinking that you're wanting way too little for the car. Either way, you save at their expense or they gain at yours. So in this strategy, there's a belief that there's a fixed pie, that there's only a set amount of goods to be divided up. And then the last bargaining strategy that I'm going to talk about is integrative. This strategy seeks one or more settlements that creates a win-win. Integrative bargaining is a much preferred strategy because it builds long-term relationships rather than creating a greater division. integrative bargaining doesn't always end in a financial win-win. Rather, it's more of a perceived win-win, which allows better cooperation for future bargaining. So, some questions that I have would be, just to end this PowerPoint here, would be the most damaging type of formal power is what? When you are bargaining, blank is preferred because of its win-win perception. And this last one here is just a reflect question. It's not really to be answered, just to kind of ponder the idea of it. How might different types of power impact negotiation and its outcomes? What about within the organization or maybe between organizations? Thank you.